Dun, 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 dun. Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks again for joining us for Coding with Duet AI live. That's just how you have to say live. That's it.
That's
Hi,
the one. Yeah.
that's it. Exactly. Hi, my name is Mark Mandel. I tech lead developer relations for gaming on Google Cloud. Aaron, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Aaron Wanjala. I am still the Java developer advocate here at Google Cloud. And yeah,
Wonderful.
we're happy to be here for the 5th session.
Fantastic. Well, Aaron, thank you very much for finding Mofi to fill in my slot when I couldn't get attend last week. I am still in Australia, hence I'm in this room. If you tuned in for our first couple, this room looks a little different. I'm at my in-laws in Australia, so hopefully the internet's going to be good all the way across the ocean. I think it's the Pacific. It's the Pacific.
One of them. Yeah.
One of them. Sure. Let's go with that. Cool. All right. So it's my turn to lead today, isn't it? I suppose I should tell us all what we're working on. All right. Let me share a screen. This should be entertaining because I wrote this ticket a while ago for this project and I don't remember half of it. So Duet should hopefully help us a lot.
That is the best kind of code base to discover. One that you wrote too long ago.
Too long ago. Exactly. I'm like, what does this even do anymore? So myself and several other Googlers built this demo project last year. We wanted to build kind of a simple multiplayer game, but we wanted to build it in a way that was as close as possible to what a production workload would look like, using like the best of our open source tools, the best of our Google Cloud products, and put it all together into a single package. So if anyone's looking for it, it's the global multiplayer demo under the Google for Games GitHub org. It's all public. Everything we're doing is public. And it runs this Unreal Engine client. We run dedicated game servers. That's a whole thing. We don't have to worry about that too much today. We run a whole bunch of services on like GKE and Autopilot, do a little spanner. And it's
I'm seeing that it's Unreal 5, but then Go is the main language. So most of what you contributed here was launcher and client-side code just to get it working.
So the game itself is all Unreal Engine 5. So that's both the dedicated server, which is the thing that syncs up all the multiplayer state between all the clients. But then we have a bunch of services that go along with it. And we can actually step through those, actually. I'll show you a little diagram.
Cool.
And those are all written in Go. Everything's Terraform. So like it's infrastructure as code from the ground up. We're using both Cloud Build and Cloud Deploy for continuous integration deployment. We're using a combination of GKE Autopilot and actually GKE Standard in a few places. And then we're using some of our open source projects on the gaming side, particularly OpenMatch for matchmaking, Gonez for game server management, and a bit of Spanner for some data storage. Like all the things. We're trying to do in all the things.
Awesome. Let me show you. This is using 2 or 3 open source projects that you contributed to personally?
Yes.
Pretty
yes.
Cool.
Yes. So if you want to see like the big architecture diagram, I'm not sure how well you can see that. I might just scroll in a little bit. Make that bigger.
Yes, I think you'd have to break it out in a tab. Oh, there you go.
That's not too bad. You can see like there's multiple clusters. So there's one cluster in US Central, there's one in Europe, there's one in Asia, right? So we want to put our game servers close to our players. So we're running multiple clusters. There's actually 2 in each region. We can actually look in there as well. Each Agonez cluster has all the Agonez components in it, as well as a bunch of Agonez game servers. There's latency measurement on those. There's each Agonez thing has a ping service. And then we also have our own Autopilot cluster that runs all our custom services as well, which is probably where we're going to end up focusing mostly today.
Cool.
And so we have a project called OpenMatch installed in there. We've got a front end, which is our like authentication endpoint. So we have a game launcher that spins up and it connects that, and all traffic goes through that. Profile surface for game profiles, like who are you, what do you have? There's some integrations with OpenMatch. I'm trying to think that's pretty much about it. But we're going to look primarily at this section here, which is the CI/CD section, which is the Terraform, Cloud Build, Cloud Deploy. We're going to try and update some of the Cloud Deploy stuff.
Very cool. More infrastructure work. Sounds good.
More infrastructure work. Apparently, that's what I'm doing a lot of. I'm doing a bunch of infrastructure work. That's a thing. So, actually, you know what? Let me show you how it is, and then I'll talk a little bit about like the ticket. I think that's a good suggestion. Let me take a sip.
Fair. I see you were asking Duet the hard-hitting questions earlier.
Yes, it's very important that I know how much wood a woodcut could chuck. And it's good to know that Duet has an answer for those questions, and that is very important. Awesome. All right, so is that big enough? Should I make that bigger?
Yeah, maybe a little
All
bit.
right, I can drop that. Let's make that all.
What is it, 13 right now? Oh,
Let's go
percentages.
let's go 200%. Let's go all the
That looks good.
way. Turn it all to 11. So all our Terraform is here in this infrastructure folder. Make that bigger. The infrastructure is all already deployed, and we can dig through it. But I want to just talk through the flow of how we have this set up. And people that maybe in the comments, feel free to just tell me how wrong we are and how we set this up, because I'd appreciate that. That would be great.
I also wonder, I don't even know if this is something that Duet does, but can it interpret all the Terraform in a folder and give me an overview of what the folder's doing?
That's a good question. What is in the infrastructure folder? I bet you I'd be surprised, but I've been surprised before. What? Okay. What does that say? Hold on. Structure folder contains common resources that are shared across an environment. The formatting.
We might not be talking about the same infrastructure folder here, but
yeah, this doesn't look right.
No, maybe not.
Yeah.
Well, fair enough.
It was worth a shot.
Yeah, you're about to do it anyways.
That's all right. There isn't like you can't right click on a folder and do an explain this.
No, the other thing that I would try is like a path, but at that point, I don't know. Or you could say like in this folder.
All right. What is in?
Oh, so that is okay.
Now I get the same thing again. Good idea though.
Yeah, worth a try.
Worth a try. All right, so I'm gonna clear that. Let's come back. Okay, we can do some explaining. So each of these Terraform files sets up the infrastructure that we need for various different things, and it sets up our cloud deploy pipelines, all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna focus on let's do this one. Let's go to services. There we go. Let's right click that and say explain this. I think this is the right one. I haven't looked at these files in ages either, so this is actually kind of nice that I can be like, what does this do? Because I don't remember.
Especially when Git plain won't help you. You wrote it, you just don't remember.
I probably wrote some of it, and like other team members probably wrote other parts. So like it could have just never been in my brain in the first place.
Fair.
Okay, sweet. So the code all right. So this is a Terraform configuration file. All right. So Kubernetes cluster, beautiful. This cluster run a game server. I don't think that's true, but that's okay. GK this resources is named services GKE, which I think is our services one.
Mm-hmm.
It's in your essential one. We saw that in diagram. We set up an account. That's interesting. We're doing some IAM role binding. Workload identity users. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So there's some.
So it really goes resource by resource here.
Yeah. I'm not surprised by this. Actually, this makes sense. I'm actually remembering stuff now. We do some IAM binding because one of our services actually introspects resources inside the project. So you need to have like approval to do that.
Right.
So IAM custom roles. That's all it is. Ping discovery. Yep. It's an interesting service. This one, it actually goes and introspects. I think it's load balancers or some kind of one of the load balancer configs in the project, so that it can find where all of these particular services are located in each of the clusters around the world. So it can pass that information back. So it basically queries APIs internally. Now this is one. So there is a local file here. This is kind of the bit I want to talk about. Local file creates a file called services ping service account.yaml. Mm-hmm. And there's another exactly same one called services front end config map.yaml in the services directory. This file creates the configuration for the front end service and the same thing. That's actually pretty good that it's like, oh, this is what it's for.
Yeah, pick that
which
up.
Is
interesting.
That is actually true. And so you can see we have all these local files, and that's kind of the thing I'm going to try and fix today. Because the flow is, if we look in files, local services, and we have a few of these, but I think we'll just look at this one in particular. So let's have a look at the profile service config. I wonder if it will explain this. Should be interesting.
Explaining the generated files too.
Yeah, so this is the template for what we would actually generate. All right, here we go. It didn't do well on this. I'm just going to ignore this extension for now. Yeah, go away. I'll try that again. Explain this file. Do you know what this is? Can you guess? Nope.
It
Nope.
seems
This
like it's
is.
still stuck on the previous file. Yeah.
It does seem like it's stuck on the previous file. So let's do this instead. Let's highlight it. Let's explain this. Here we go. Nope. Still thinks I'm
No,
looking at Terraform. Isn't that weird?
that is weird. Maybe it doesn't see .tpl as a valid extension, and so it's like thinking this is some kind of like sub buffer, or maybe it's keying
That
off
is
of the copyright blocks at the top and thinking that these are hashing to the same file.
weird though. Yeah.
I don't know why that would be, but that's interesting.
What if I clear the chat and then go explain this? Does it still think? Hey,
Okay,
weird. Okay, I wonder if that's a bit of an odd bug. So this has got a service account. Let's see what it thinks. Service configuration. Not quite, but that's okay.
Yeah. Actually, considering that bug, maybe we should submit feedback on that.
Yes, we should.
We could even like there is a function inside of the IDE to submit feedback and include the logs. And for anybody who's using it, that's a good thing to know.
What? No. I
You
hit the wrong button and made it go away.
You have to click on the Duet badge at the bottom right, I believe, and then that would take you to the feedback section, just for future reference.
Oh, I see. It's down here, and then there's a submit feedback. And then...
and I believe that includes the logs and everything. So if something particularly was wrong with like how it was picking up the files, that would actually send the right information to the dev team to figure that out.
Okay, cool. We'll do that. I think we'll do that at a later date.
Yeah,
but that's a good one. That's a good one to know. Okay, so it's the description of this one's not so great, but I am pretty familiar with what's going on here. So it creates a service account, and then a config map with a bunch of spanner information in it. Am I doing? Do I want to do profile service? These other ones are pretty much the same. There's the ping service.
And you're saying that you want to change the way these files are generated, or do you want to change the whole approach?
I kind of want to change the approach a bunch. So when we run the Terraform and I actually show you, it will take. Yeah, we'll do the profile service. That's the easy one because it's got a service account and it's got some spanner config. If we actually come down into our services and I have a look at my profile service, is it this one? Yeah, that file looks wrong. Oh, that's interesting. Looks like there's a bug in the Terraform anyway that creates it as a weird. All right, that's fine. Good to know.
Oh, maybe that's why TPL instead of TMPL. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah. What is that? What does that say TMPL? That's actually very odd. I don't know where. Yeah. There you go. I've learned new things that are weird. But it copies that file. No, that's actually not right either. Where does that file go? It's down here. Sorry, my bad.
Okay,
found it. Got it. I think that was just there if you wanted to use it as an example. So it generates this spanner config. It's in gray on here because it's ignored. So basically, I have to run the Terraform locally to generate the file so that then I can submit the cloud deploy script, which is, I think, no, that's just that's the Kubernetes YAML, which is all fine. There's a config map that it pulls from, because in here we have a cloud build that deploys like all of our services in one go. Building of images, and then does the deployments.
Interesting.
And where's our scaffold? We have a scaffold YAML. Here we go. So here's a scaffold. So this is all cloud deploy stuff, right? So we build our images, and then like we have a bunch of different stuff. But you can see this profile spanner config.yaml. We don't have that locally. It's not really a thing.
Right, because it's being ignored, and so you want to. We're going to be running the Terraform to generate
So that's the way it works now. Yeah, the Terraform runs. Oh my God, see, this is trying to remember how this works too. Terraform runs. It generates this service account YAML. No, sorry, I'm looking at ping discovery. Sorry, let me look at the right one. I'm looking at profile. So this spanner config, which is this file here. And then when I run like cloud build submit, which we can do as well, it takes all those files, bundles them up, and sends them up.
Fair enough.
Now, in an ideal world, what I don't want to have is Terraform locally generating these files.
I was gonna say, I don't know if I'm just like not deep enough in the Terraform like world, but that seems either advanced or non-standard. I'm not sure which.
It's a bit weird. We've got all this dynamic data because we're generating all this stuff, and like it's a bit weird. But at the time we were using Cloud Deploy, you couldn't really dynamically create content. There was no like templating option. There was very limited options when we started using Cloud Deploy. So this was kind of maybe a bit of a hack. It was kind of just the way we found to do it.
And that's still a time saver, still documentable. Yeah. So I can see why you landed on that.
Yeah. Ideally, what I'd like to see is that we have this other product at Google Cloud most recently that I haven't even touched called like, I think Cloud Infra. That's like a Terraform management kind of thing. I'd like to push everything eventually up to that. So to do that, I want to get rid of all of this shenanigans so that it's much easier to use.
Interesting.
So what I want to do, this is my theory, is rather than having this generated file, I want to convert the existing Cloud Deploy setup to dynamically basically inject this data.
Sounds good. I wonder, I haven't touched Cloud Infra or the templated build function in Cloud Deploy yet. I'm wondering if Duet has some guidance on that from like a reference information standpoint.
I can't remember what it is either. Okay, so the theory being, here's the deployment. It should be something in here-ish that we add stuff.
This is the neighborhood.
This is the neighborhood of things. I literally deliberately hand wave, and I also, oh my God, I haven't touched Cloud Deploy in ages, so this is going to be very entertaining. And the layers therein. We're just gonna focus on the profile service, see if we can do just that.
Yeah, I like it. I like an ambitious agenda for stream.
Yeah, how we go. We can also make this. Oh, interesting. I wonder if we can turn this into a script rather than. Anyway, I digress. There's all sorts of stuff we could do. This could be a script, I know, rather than an entry point bash. But let's have a look at Duet AI. All right, so. Actually, I was going to say, if I need to add dynamic content to a Cloud Deploy script, what is the best way to do that? Let's see if it gives us a good answer. Are you having a good day?
You might have had a bit of a connection blip there.
Oop. I'm still here. I think we're good. All right, perfect. All right. So, all right, to add dynamic content. So I asked it what like a dynamic content to a Cloud Deploy script. What's the best way to do that? To add dynamic content to the Cloud Deploy script, you can use the substitutions property. Interesting. Is that this sounds like Cloud Build and not Cloud Deploy? But we have a link
to docs, yeah.
And
I am seeing Cloud Build more. Oh, there you go. Looks like Cloud Deploy for you.
Configuration schema reference. That opened in the right browser. That is good. All right, so that looks right. Creation file schema. There's a bunch of pipelines.
Are we seeing substitutions here?
Complicated. Well, let's see. Let's look for subs to. No. Yeah, that's not right. That's not right.
Not quite. Yeah, I am seeing substitutions property. The substitutions property on Cloud Build,
but not necessarily on that.
No, and yeah, I've used that within a specific build script, but not for this. So
substitution dynamic content to a cloud deploy. So registry project ID. Yeah, that seems to have mushed the two together.
yeah, it's describing the cloud build
So
function.
not cloud build, but cloud deploy. Let's see if you pick up the context of that. I see you're asking me to review a cloud deploy configuration file. That's not right.
That's okay. Yeah,
this is looking more like it.
It's closer.
It's closer. It's asking me like, what is it? Okay, interesting.
Maybe if we ask for templating specifically, like, is that more the
how do you
template, like another word to describe it?
But maybe. No, it's still going that way. Stuck with substitutions. Oh, well, that's unfortunate.
Fair enough. Somewhere on that cloud deploy docs link, there would be a page on templating, but
yes. So if I come back to my ticket, I have a ticket. A ticket I wrote back in July of last year. This is how long it's been since I've touched on this stuff. I think what we were looking for is parameters. Is the pass parameters to your deployment. All right. Well, let's see maybe if we use the right word. How do you use cloud deploy parameters? Let's try that. All right. Used to configure the deployment process. They can be used to specify the purling, the delivery pipeline to use, the target to deploy to, images to deploy, annotations, region. Interesting. Used to configure the parameters. But I don't think that's what we mean.
Yeah.
All right. With cloud deploy, how do I pass parameters to my deployment? Oh, it's all shrunk. Oh, that's not fun. The formatting's all good. Oh, yeah.
True. Yeah, a little
there
bit.
There we go. That's there we go. All right. Too wide. There we go. That's looking better. -- parameters. Okay. Pass parameters to your deployment. Use the parameters flag, for example. Parameters using substitutions. You can do both.
Is that the right gcloud CLI? Because gcloud deploy
releases. That looks vaguely right. Let's have a look at what we actually have here. We can see a deployment. Gcloud deploy releases create. That looks correct. I think we've talked about this before. I might pop this out.
We have, yeah. I'm a fan of the float mode.
View mode, float. Let's do that. That's a bit better. Might just move that around our screen. It's not perfect, but it does the job. All right. Substitution flag. Okay, cool. Interesting. So if we let's see. There's layers to this that I haven't quite got to yet, but let's see.
That's good. Something for us to figure out here.
Here we go. Pass parameter release creation. Let's have a look. I just want to see how that looks. Deploy parameters. It's not quite right.
Yeah.
Close, but not quite right. But that's right. Gcloud deploy releases create test. Like we create a release. We specify the delivery pipeline, which we can look at in a sec. And we have deploy parameters.
Just key value. I wish does it show like how it's delimited? Is it like comma separated or?
It says comma separated. Separated. Okay. And actually, just so if people aren't aware, let me show you a pipeline. I'll just show it to you because it's kind of cool. So we have a bunch of pipelines here. Let's look at the services one. It's basically
And so this is the project for the actual hosted version of this demo, right?
Yeah, well, it's my version of it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's my dev machine, my dev project. We don't host this anywhere. You can't just play the game.
Shucks.
Yeah, I know. It's such a shame. So we have a delivery pipeline. It's basically, you can have a pipeline. It can point at. It has a series of targets. Targets can have one or more clusters behind them. In this one, we are just pointing at our order, the autopilot cluster. My God, my brain.
We'll get there.
Yeah, deployment is just this particular cluster here, and you can actually click through it. It'll take you all the way through the cluster, and you can kind of bounce around. So global game services cluster. We can see past rollouts. Rollouts when we're actually doing stuff. We haven't done one since October last year. That's been how long since I've run the project. Okay, so
here in Cloud Deploy, under the rollouts, it shows each stage, and if they failed, it would show like which service it failed to reach.
Yeah, you can actually dig into the logs for each one and see if something failed and if you need to roll back. And then you can also do like one cluster to another cluster. Like you can do progressive rollouts. You can do all kinds of neat stuff with it.
Very cool.
It's good fun. And they keep releasing new features, so we're going to introduce it. All right, so we can pass parameters. But the one step that I also haven't quite worked out is, which I think is the step we need to do first, is how do I get this information? So if it's in Terraform and we generate it and sort of the local file system becomes your data storage, how do I, what's my source of truth for where that stuff is? Do I look it up after the fact, but it is generated from Terraform. So my initial thought here is assuming I can just pass things through. And let's have a look. So I'm thinking I might just take all this data that we had as the template, the file template, and chuck it all in some sort of file, like an env file format or something in a cloud storage bucket.
Okay.
And then I can always just pull it down, load it up before I do any of my commands if I need any of the dynamic information, and it can be passed all the way through. That's my theory.
Fair enough.
That's my theory. So I think the first step is, for one, see if there's a storage bucket I can reuse. If not, let's create one. And then let's see if we can write. I think we're going to start with writing some Terraform again. Oh my God, I'm going back to Terraform again. We're going to write some Terraform to see if we can consolidate this data in a single place that we need. Does that sound like a fun place to start?
It does. I'm wondering, because we're already in Cloud Deploy, which is like a generic execution environment. Yeah. We can't, is it because this is a multi-stage build that we can't just use the local file system of that running job to hold the
so
output?
the way I want this set up is that one whole system could run Terraform, and it's like and it could have a local file system in a completely different place. And then once that's done, I just want to be able to go gcloud deploy from my machine or anywhere else from cloud. In this case, it's cloud build, which could be a totally other machine.
Right.
And I have no guarantee at that point whether the local file system is going to be the same machine or not. So I need to put it somewhere shared, basically.
Fair enough.
I could, well, here's a potentially interesting thought. We are generating these files. Should we just check the files in cloud storage? Do I need to?
I would say that seems like an incomplete upgrade, because then we're still generating the file. We're still doing the non-standard behavior, but then we're putting off of that to build a newer feature. So you'd still be dependent on the file generation.
Still be dependent on the file generation. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it as much either.
I like the shared bucket implementation more than the shared bucket with the end output.
Yeah, I think the only thing that freaks me out a little bit about the env output is if we ever need to do some kind of looping or nesting, that becomes trickier. Like, say we're like, oh, I've created 4 clusters and I need the 4 cluster information.
Yeah.
But you know what?
you and I both we're both working on this. We both push new files to this shared bucket. Like which one resolves first?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Should we use something?
Yeah. So my theory long term is I want to use something like Infrastructure Manager that in theory should handle the Terraform. So that should solve some of those other problems. Fair. But this is a step to get us there. Yeah. Otherwise, I'd be 100% agree with you. Then you're dealing with like locking issues and stuff.
Yeah. That pushes me towards something like, should we just put it in the database? Should we have like a, because if this is mostly just key value pairs that we're generating and storing, and we need to pull that later, we could just have like spanner.
That seems like overkill for
it's a little more than we'll need for a little bit of build config.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, let's if I'm looking at if I'm just looking at services files, the reason I like an N file is because you can just source it basically on the command line, and then all those N files are already there, like if in M file format.
One more suggestion: could we just put this in like Secrets Manager? Could we just like create a shared? Because then all your clusters would have access to that, right?
You raise a good point. And Cloud Build has that integration built in.
But if it's more of a complication for the stream, then we can just continue with.
No, it's not. Here we go. Let's. You know what? I'm gonna ask Duet.
Yeah.
Is Cloud Secrets? I don't know if I can do this. Overkill for simple configuration information. Because it's not. None of this stuff is actually secret. Like a lot of it really isn't, and it's all internal. No. It's like where is this endpoint, and that kind of stuff. So. What do you think? Okay, Google storage of sensitive data such as password, API keys, and issues. Okay, cool. That makes perfect sense. Oh, it's used my words back at me. I kind of like this. Cloud Secrets can be used to store configuration information, but it's not necessarily overkill. If you're only storing a small amount of configuration information, you may be able to use a simpler solution, such as a text file or database. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah. You may be able to use a simpler solution. That's a good answer.
It is decent. That seems pretty informed.
At this rate, we're not going to end up writing code. We're just going to design this out, which is fine. That's fine.
We have another session.
We have plenty of time. It'll be fine. I might I might end up working on this in the time being, but that's fine.
Interesting.
All right.
At the very least, I think if we just stick with the first game plan, we are in a better position to change to other implementations later.
That is true. We may end up putting stuff. Okay. All right. So we have M files, a text file, source environment variables. That's what I was thinking about it. Secrets create M files and create new text file called .env. Yeah, I know this is okay. And it's literally just that equals that. I need to use sit environment.
Oh, and we may have lost you for a little bit, Mark, but
if I want to create a text file of environment. Oop, I'm back. I should be back now.
You're back.
Yep. All right, so if I want environment variables, I can source in bash. What format should that be in? Let's see if that.
It did link us to the .env documentation, which I suspect would have the right format.
Oh. I think actually my internet dropping broke Duet.
Aha.
I think it did. I think it was like, no.
That could be. You may just have to close fully kill the process and then.
Let's see if I kill that. Oh yeah, no, it hates me. All right, let's do that. Bring it up again.
That'll do this for a little bit.
Oh, I broke it good.
Yeah.
No, we're back. We're back.
Thinking carefully.
All right, text file environment variables you can source in Bash is as follows. For example, the following text file defined environment variables called to password and source mfile.txt. Okay, actually, you know what? Let's test that just to make sure the format is the way I want it to be.
I believe it is.
I think that's correct.
Yeah, 100 per line. Key equals value.
All right, so let's make a little maker temp export temp export. Let's make that text a little bigger. That should be a bit nicer. All right. We'll go nano env.sh. Actually, let's call it nano. Let's call it.
I guess Nano didn't create the file after you.
No, because I didn't save it. All right, so we'll call this my name equals Mark. Food equals spaghetti, which I probably spelled wrong.
We'll ask Duet to verify the validity of these values.
There we go. So I'm just here we go. So source env cool echo dollar food spaghetti. Okay, so that works. Thank you, Duet, for the right format. Okay, cool. So that's the format we want. That's perfect. All right, let's enter QA. So the other thing, I know I'm gonna manually check this because you can't check this. If I have a look in my project, is there a bucket I can rebuild, or should I make my own bucket as part of my Terraform config? Yeah, I know. There's all these things.
Few buckets.
Tell me. This is, I think, a lot of cloud. Yeah, this is like buckets for cloud deploy.
Fair.
Keeps those
Does
over
it make
time.
a bucket for each rollout?
You ask a good question to which I'm not entirely sure I know the answer.
Yeah, interesting.
But these are the ones that we have down here. That's a cloud build bucket. That's not mine. I think the only one I actually use is this one, which is called release artifacts. Which I was doing some other development in. Do I want to put it there? You know what? I think I'm gonna make a state bucket or something.
Release config something.
Ooh, I like that name. I like that name a lot. All right, so let's start a new Terraform file. We're gonna call this. Actually, you know what? I really like that name. Release config. New. Do we have just a Terraform? No, Terraform is not here. All right, let's just do a file. We'll call it release config.tf.
It's important to have a nice official file name for it. You don't want to have like not a hack as your bucket.
Yeah, exactly. Do I have this set up to specify my copyright? No, I don't. All right, so let's just steal some copyright. I usually have this set up so that it'll set copyright information. Yeah, it automatically does it. But
I do it as a pre-submit. I have it just like run the copyright.
There is a setup for copyright in here and in IntelliJ, and usually I have it set up, but I forgot.
I didn't know that. I've never used that.
Yeah, I used to use it quite a lot. Code. It's somewhere in here. Anyway, it's not important. Update copyright. Yeah. There we go. So I feel like it does it per project, and I always forget to reset it up. Doesn't matter. All right. Create a cloud storage bucket with the name of the project. So starting with project and ending with, what do you want to call it? Release config?
Yep.
Oh, look, and it even did that for me.
There we go.
No. But it didn't finish it.
Weird.
Isn't that weird?
I wonder, okay, how many characters are in this file? Not 2,000.
Yeah, it should be. Or maybe, hold on. I'll tell you what. Let's delete that and hit the button.
So that is a good question.
There you go. That's actually exactly
right. Or helping to avoid copyright issues. Yes, in some ways, like Duet does surface citations if it ever brings you results that are based on like copyrighted code, it'll give you the citations to the sources. Yeah, and so it does take some steps to help you with that.
There's a page for it.
Yeah.
If you want to find it.
All
right, so Cloud Storage Bucket, beautiful. All right, so that was pretty good. It did some extra stuff. I think it did better when I, rather than autocomplete the sentence. So storage buckets, bucket for release configuration. I also love, I've been doing documentation with Duet AI recently. And the completion on like sentences and stuff I found really, really useful. One of our events team, wonderful events team, just posted one of the blog posts as well in chat. Okay, so yeah, we already did that, so that's cool. We call it release config. What did we actually have? Okay, so we have release artifacts and release config. Nice, I like that. That seems good to me.
And so does that? It is picking up the var project properly. Did we have to correct the project variable there?
That looks right to me.
No, it looks right. Okay.
It looks right. So
location US, is that valid? Can you just say US and it'll pick a region out of that?
Let's see. I think that's multi-region US from memory, but let's explain it and see what it has to say. That's a good question. All right, so named var project release config in the US region. The location argument specifies the region with the bucket with the location. The US region is a good choice for global multiplayer game. It knows I'm writing a global multiplayer game.
Interesting. Yeah.
This is a central location. I guess that's actually kind of fascinating. Is US a multi-region location?
And that is like still how I work with Duet. Like it'll save me time on the first cut, but I want to verify that it's giving them the right values.
Okay. No, US is not a multi-region. I think that's wrong.
I wonder.
I'm fairly sure that's wrong. I'll tell you what. Let me find another Google Cloud Storage bucket to look at. There we go. Here's release config. And it's literally exactly the same.
I think it's the same one. Yeah.
Sorry. What am I looking for? Google Cloud Storage bucket. Release artifacts. Here we go. This is the client one. It's the same. I think. I think that's right. What locations are available for Google Cloud?
Yeah, like storage. List all. Yeah, what are the valid bucket locations? Yeah.
Yeah.
US.
See, there's multiple. Where's the locations? All right, let's have a look at the Google Cloud documentation. Go on.
Yeah. It seems like it's listing US as a valid one, so.
Not the wrong window. Oops.
Region US is correct? Yeah, I think so too. If we go to multi-regions at the bottom there, on the side.
Multi-region. Yeah, US.
Yeah, okay. There we go.
All right, Duet. Do better. That's all right. Yeah, US is correct. Yeah, it is right, though. At least it did the right thing.
Yeah. I second-guessed it too much.
Well, what did I ask it? I asked it, is it multi-region? It says US is not multi-region, but it is. Or do they call it something else? No, it calls multi-region. All right.
Yep. Fair enough.
All right. Cool. We have a storage bucket. We're going to need a file. Services. How do I want to do this? Can I just do a top level? Let's get a top level file. And I'm actually going to take the profile service config, and I'm just going to actually paste it in here, and we're going to call it env.
Yeah, in env environment.
I can't think of a better. Just text this file. Thank you.
I'm a fan of longer explicit names, where possible.
That seems very reasonable. We'll keep the 2024. That's all right. Yeah, I'm okay with that just being a text file. All right. So there's a few things I need. All right. So, actually, so these are probably easy ones, the spanner ones. Or do we need that? Well, let's see how this gets created. I wonder if that's specific or that goes away. And then I've got this service email. That's interesting. Spanner information. I'm just going to start. We'll dump stuff and we'll work it out as we go.
Yeah.
And this is a service account named profile service account. Config.
And you don't have to escape any characters for env files, I don't believe.
Oh, that's an interesting question. It should be fine.
I'm just looking at if you wanted to specify iem.gke.io as a service account variable name, but that's okay.
Where are you looking?
Line 30. I was if you wanted to preserve that same key for the value.
Oh, yeah. I think I'm trying to remember what that does. I'm just going to call it this for now, and I think it's very specific to the profile. So that's the basic format. We'll see as the data goes, as it comes through. This config yeah. Okay. All right. Generate. Where's this file gonna go? All right. So, all right. So we can. All right. So generate. We'll say generate file. Local file from environ. Where are we? Let's see how well it can do this. Files environ. I think this is going to be a stretch, but
it'll be interesting.
Let's see what it does. That looks generally not bad.
Yeah, should it be a resource? Or should it be...
getting...
Wow.
It's sending it up to the storage bucket.
Okay, so bucket equals... Is that... Okay.
What? Okay.
I think that is the right bucket name, too.
What? I don't know if... I don't know why we have two of these, though. Files release config...
I think that one is line 36 is imagined.
Yeah, I think that's imagined, but it's still kind of
the rest
cool,
looks
though.
good. Yeah,
it's like imagined this YAML file that doesn't exist, nor does environment. Yeah, it's like this is a YAML.
Yep.
It's not, but thanks.
But I'm glad I kept going because the third result is very useful. The upload.
All right, so I'm going to delete that. I don't know whether any of this is valid, but you know what? We're going to run with it and see how we go.
Especially 37. I'm is that source valid? Is it talking about the file we just defined, release config tf, and pulling the file name? No, that doesn't seem quite right.
Yeah, so we call it environment.
But it's
that's
useful.
Right. Spanner. You see, this looks wrong. That's okay. We might have to go look at how this gets created in other spots. So let's close other tabs. This makes life easy.
Yeah, I'm wondering on line 23 there if that template usage is right. Is that I haven't done a lot of template file creation in Terraform.
I've also forgotten.
Yeah, fair.
Services GKE. Yes, services GKE. Okay. So we were previously doing, what file was it? Services, service config YAML. Yeah, that's the one we were looking at. So if we wanted to, we're jumping in the deep end. All right. Here we go.
Okay, yeah, that's
one of them. That is one of them. Boom. That's not what I want. Where's the other one? You know what? Oh, it's in Spanner. Oh, interesting.
Oh, you're using Liquibase. Cool.
Yeah, we have all kinds of stuff. All right, so this is where.
So yeah, uploading Liquibase properties is almost the exact same use case as what we're doing here.
Cool. All right, so. So this is interesting. Okay, so this is the one that does the config for. Oh my gosh, my brain. All right, so this is the profile. Yeah, that's fine. So we have a service account and we have a config map. So what is service email? So we actually have to specify all the things that come through. All right, so this is all spanner information. Okay. Project ID. So if I'm going to come back, so I'm just going to come back to my env file. Where's my env file? All right, so we don't need a project ID because everyone has that information. Cloud Build has that information. We're all good there.
Yeah. Do we have to? Can we reuse a service account for the bucket action, or do we need to create one for this? Because Cloud Deploy would have its own.
Yeah, I think no. There's a specific service account specifically for user spanner. So what I actually think this should be is the spanner service account.
Oh, fair enough.
Because if I'm looking at the spanner Terraform, like the service email is the service account spanner SA email. Project ID is project, etc., etc., etc. So I don't.
But am I missing something? I thought we were working with storage rather than spanner for this new environment file.
Right. Okay. This is okay. Yes. So the profile service talks to Spanner to get the information about player profiles. So it can do that. It needs the Spanner information, so it can be like, "Hey, I'm the right person to talk to Spanner, and I should be allowed to do this."
Right.
So when we deploy, when we deploy that service, it needs to know. We need to pass it that information as part of the Cloud Deploy script. The way we do that now is we deploy a config map into the cluster. But rather than generating that file in its entirely, this file here is what we'll put in Google Cloud Storage.
Right.
And then when we go to do our Cloud Deploy, we'll pull this file and use Cloud Deploy parameters, which is the templating stuff, to build that stuff from scratch.
That makes sense.
Okay. Makes sense?
Yeah, we're just replacing this. Yeah, that makes sense. Same values from the generated file from before.
Yep.
I am wondering though, in order to do the upload, will we have to have a service account for storage, or is it just going to be a public access bucket for uploading?
At this point in time, we're not going to, because I'm going to be running Terraform locally through my account. So one problem at a time.
Fair.
But the nice thing is it does mean that all our Spanner config is just like one thing. It's all in one spot. So if we have other services that are also using Spanner in some way, they can reuse all the same environment information and just template it out as they want. So I'm just going to steal this. I'm going to cheat.
And it seems remarkably close to what we had already.
Yeah, it is pretty close. So I'm saying we don't need to pass the project into this file. Cloud Build's the one doing the Cloud Deploy. Cloud Build knows what project we're in. We're going to assume that Cloud Build is running in the same project, so we can skip that. That's fine. Actually, here we go. What does this do? I have a pretty good idea. So it tells Terraform to generate the contents of the file from the specific template file.
You know what? That is a great summary. I am noticing that we have file name in the old use case, but not in this one. Or is it just outside of what we copied?
Oh, interesting. Good point.
I'm guessing
Oh,
it's like, oh
here's
no,
this.
yeah, resulting from them. There it is.
Do we have other options? Does it have to go to a file, or can it go into a? That's a good question, actually. Give me that. Can a Terraform be stored in memory? Yes, locally stored in memory. To this, you can use the content argument specify the contents of the file as a string.
Is that really in memory though, or is it just in the shell?
Yeah, I think you're right. Basically, we're going like I'm just wondering if because we're going from writing to a local file to then pushing up to cloud storage. Like, do we need this interim step?
Yeah, just take the string and push it up. Yeah,
but honestly, the nice thing is, sorry, go ahead.
No, I think writing into a file is probably just easier.
Temporary file path. Also, you can debug it.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of the file path, I saw that the file name had a long path, and it doesn't look right from what we.
Yeah, how to generate.
That's quite a temporary file path.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Make sure you have 50 X's in your.
I'm sort of like, can it just create a file for me? Like, just chuck it somewhere. Doesn't look like it.
Have a temporary file location,
or like a temporary file. Terraform generate temporary file. Like.
Okay. I have a spoiler for you when you're ready.
Okay.
There's an open request for this on HashiCorp's repo.
So I was like,
somebody's written a very thoughtful proposal for what we're asking Duet to do right now.
Okay. It doesn't seem to care to. All right, that's fair enough. All right, so we're gonna do local file. I'm just gonna throw it in a temp directory.
Yeah, so that path seems a little long. /infrastructure/file/
I was actually thinking of just doing like a temp.
That sounds good.
Actually, should we call it something?
Temp config.
I don't know. Yeah, I was gonna say there's no. Let's go. See, this is where it would be nice if there was a function to just give me a temporary directory or a temp file or something.
Yeah, fair.
Really, there's nothing.
Doesn't seem like it. I guess because it's just interpreted. Like I don't really know why I wouldn't.
Yeah. Okay.
Here. Is the root path what we want?
So my original thought here is to chuck it just in a temp directory because you always have access to the temp. You generally always have access to temp directory as a writing spot as long as you're on some sort of Unix thing. But you raise a good point. Maybe you won't be.
I mean, yeah, especially in like ephemeral cloud environments. I'm like, where will that go? But for like your file system, for sure, I think that'll work fine locally, and that is really the use case. So.
Or do we want to just chuck it in the, you know what? Don't want it in files. We can just chuck it in infrastructure. You know what? Let's just chuck it in infrastructure. You can always ignore it. At least then we have it. Then it's easy to find. Okay, it's easy to find. And I'm gonna cheat a little. I'm just gonna do this. Splat. Okay. that. Source. Ooh. Call it environment. So I don't know if I like the word environment as a name, but that's okay. That's not right.
Yeah. I'm surprised that's not like a keyword that's already reserved.
Environment. File name. Or is it file name or is it path? Or I actually don't know off the top of my head. Say file name.
And is line 36 exactly right?
Oh. No. It's line 36 exactly right. Let's have a look. Release config dot name. That looks like it should be right. Name.
Yeah. No, it is called release config. Okay. Perfect.
Local file. Should just load it up. So I can get the content out too, which is interesting. I assume file name. Maybe.
Or you have release config name. Well, no.
Yeah, one I want just the. I actually just want the file name. Nope. All right. So let's see. Can I get in Terraform how to get the file name from a path. Let's assume it's absolute path. Base name. That's what we want.
For dir name. Interesting. For a directory.
So I don't. Yeah. Cool. So base name. Let's assume that's correct. Just give it to me as it was. All right. That's an interesting question.
So that will pull the file name from, what is it, line 31?
Yeah.
Won't that always be... Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
That's what we want. I don't want it to change. So that seems... Okay. All right, so... let's go here. We're in infrastructure. Yep. Let's format. Good. Did it change anything? A little bit.
The moment of truth. We get to apply it.
Well, let's validate first.
Fair.
Configuration is valid. All right, we're gonna get it. This is gonna take a few minutes, but let's see what happens. It's gonna refresh over like a whole stack of clusters, and then it'll be like, and it'll do that very typical Terraform thing where it's like, hey, I'm gonna change a bunch of stuff, even though it doesn't actually change anything.
It's always good to know.
Exactly. All right, we're good. We got another half hour. You can see. But that'll actually be kind of cool, though. I'm excited
about it. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, you're pulling the value from memory seems possible now, because we just looked at, local file environment .content. We're defining the content as one Terraform variable. I'm wondering if we could just have it create a file off of that .content variable and then upload that file. It seems doable.
Yeah. I did notice in the upload bucket there, you could, see, it's going to do a bunch of, it's just changing exclusions. Actually, while it's doing that, what I should see as well, there's a bunch of maintenance policies. There's our local file that it's creating with a bunch of spanner stuff in it. Storage bucket release config will be created. Cool. And there's a bunch of weird stuff it does for reasons I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
But it should create that bucket. Yeah, it's deleting stuff and then re-adding memberships. Where was I? You said something interesting and I forgot what it was.
You said, I was talking about like creating the file to be uploaded in memory.
Yep.
And then you said, I was looking at the storage bucket, the upload bucket.
Oh yeah. So I was looking at the I was looking at this resource here, which actually says that, and there was an option there if you just want to pass it a string to go push it in. The thing I do like is that this environment file is now here in the infrastructure folder.
We can take a look.
So I can take a look is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, we'd end up logging that string anyways. So probably easier to just
exactly
write it to the file system.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna add this to git ignore. Beautiful. Yeah, you can see that all the files that get generated. It's kind of very amusing, and I think that's actually not around anymore. Oops.
Truly, the hardest part of using Duet is typing the comments out.
Ignore Terraform generated. Sorry, we had that there. Oh, I was just moving this. Okay, so that's not added. How's that doing? Yeah, that's going.
Are we able to see the bucket in the console?
Probably. What I will do though is just commit my work.
Fair.
So generating. Let's say work in progress. Generating. Hey, completed. Oop. I forgot to go to branch. Now we'll call it infra cloud deploy templates.
You're gonna like soft reset that. Oh, you already have the commit.
I will do in just 1 second. Let me just get that up. Get reset hard upstream. What are you complaining about now? You still see the environment file. I'll leave that there. That's fine. All right, let's get back to the branch that I was on. All right. Okay, so that's all there. Let's go have a look. Buckets, refresh. Release config. Hey. You know, it's probably overkill that this file is a multi-region file, given that it's only going to be used in Cloud Build.
Cloud Build, and in fact, Cloud Build triggered from your laptop. So yeah, overkill might be the word.
From Australia, no less, too.
Yeah.
Actually,
let's do it if that was overkill.
I had an interesting thought though. Well, actually, I'll point out two things that I'm thinking about it. One, people may wonder why we put the prefix of the project on the Cloud bucket. People haven't used Google Cloud Storage before. Buckets are universally unique across like all of Google Cloud. So just a common pattern is putting the project name at the front. So it pretty much guarantees you're going to get a unique project name or get a storage bucket name that you can reuse pretty well. So you'll find that as a common pattern. The other thought.
Your project ID is also unique, and so if you tried to put something like documents as your project ID, it would be prefixed or suffixed with a number, so that is guaranteed to be unique.
Yeah. Well, you can always still have a conflict, but it's pretty likely. Yeah. I was actually thinking that this particular directory should save versions.
Yeah.
For this particular file, because you may. Well, actually, do you want to roll back?
Well, you want it to be discoverable what the config was for a given deploy, whether you want to roll back.
Oh, that's a good point. Yes, I like that a lot. Object versioning. All right, so let's turn on object versioning.
I think there's a CLI way to do that, but we can do that in Terraform here. Yeah,
we're doing Terraform. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Turn on object versioning. All right, spinning.
If it gets that from the
so that looks right. This is too much, but
that's pretty nice.
That's yeah. The rest of it's a bit weird. The rest of that looks.
Yeah, it looks right.
Let's have a look. Terraform. What? And then Terraform validate. Seems pretty happy.
All right.
All right, so that's good to have. You know what? I'm just gonna run that in the background. Yeah, just aura proof. Off you go. Do that in the background. kind of just want to look at this file. I assume it's the right file. So we can here. Is it going to just? Oh, look at that! It even upped it up here. Perfect. So that's all the things we want. All right, cool. Sweet. Let's see. I assume that's not going to complain at me about changing a storage bucket in some weird way. Guess we'll find out. I assume you can edit storage buckets. Okay, so cool. All right, that's actually really cool. All right, so that wasn't too bad.
No, I am back. I had to dip for a second, but
yep. No, you seem like you're good.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so I'm actually that wasn't too bad. I'm actually kind of happy about that.
Yeah, that was exactly right.
How are we doing for time? The next magic question, and I don't know a good answer for this, is how do we bring this into Cloud Deploy? All right, so this should be entertaining. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Let us. I'm gonna get rid of you. Bye bye. Let's have a look at our services cloud build.yaml. And you know what? Let's explain this. I want to remember what it is that's going on here. Okay, what are we doing? Service account, sections, artifacts, substitutions, options, tags. All right. We build our images. That is true. Build will pull the Docker file from your source code and use to build the Docker image. 100%. That's great. You are using to deploy your application to Cloud Deploy. Deploy to Cloud Deploy is a bit weird, but that's okay. Create a release in your Cloud Deploy delivery pipeline and deploy the images to your target. That is 100% accurate.
Yeah, we're deploying with Cloud Deploy, but aside from the nitpick, yeah, pretty much right.
That seems pretty good. Okay. So, I thought of one other thing I want to do. We need to take that file from infrastructure. So let's have a look here. Files, services, ping. We're just going to go profile service config. So let's copy this. Or actually, cut this. We need to. Here we go. This should go away. Let's break things. And actually, fun thing. All right, so let's get rid of the config file for Cloud Deploy. Awesome. Let's delete this file because we don't want it anymore. Awesome. Now let's come into our services profile. We actually have a spanner config.yaml. So let's not have that be ignored anymore. And then we'll, do I have a thing to just say unignore? No, of course not.
I think there's like a git add, or you can, I know the hotkey is Command Option A for given file.
Spanner? Where is it found inside? It should be in this git ignore. What? How is that?
It may have, or is it a different git ignore? No, there's no top level one.
Liquid base. Why is that ignored?
I would search the file name.
Yeah, that is a good call. Spanner config. Here we go. Services profile. Git ignore. There's a git ignore in there. Okay, there we go. Haha. That's an interesting question since I'm looking at it already. Do we usually use underscore or dash for our file names? Dash. All right, so we're gonna tweak this as well. We're gonna we'll rename that to spanner dash config because it hurts my sensibilities.
Fair.
Let's have a look. Anything that I need to worry about on renaming? Yes, that's perfect. Do that. Yeah. Okay. Now, my brain hurts. There is some magic way to put something here and here and here and here for Cloud Deploy. I don't remember what it is. But if we look at our deployment YAML, I don't know if that necessarily changes. Let's have a look. Oh, this is our Kubernetes deployment YAML. That's right.
And the functionality you're describing actually does sound like the cloud build like substitutions now.
Yeah.
But it's specifically for cloud deploy. Interesting.
Well, I think it's part. So cloud deploy is an interesting one in that I know that it's like you've got cloud deploy that runs things through scaffold that like generates the manifest that ends up going into the thing and creates like that's the rollout. So like this is a scaffold definition, which is probably old in some way, shape, or form. And so this is what we're using. There may be an updated version, but we can come back to that in a sec. So here's our spanner config file that is local. I don't know if we have to do anything special on the scaffold side, but that's a good question. Okay, so the first step would be so we have dynamic source. All right. There's a bunch of stuff I really want to do in here, but I'm not going to get there yet.
Yeah, we have access to the exact fields we want to set. Service account. I mean, they're all in that.
Download. Anyway, it's not going to get this, but we'll see. File from GCS buckets.
I mean, we could name the bucket because we have the name. You can also copy the name from the console. I forget what it is, but it's like release config.
It is
project name release.
I'm trying to remember what the. I think it's like project name. I can't spell. I'm willing to. There's no way it's getting this right. Oh, it's not. It's gone too much. It's gone too far.
Yeah. It gave you 3
It's
answers.
gone too far, but it's.
But the first one was GS util, so that at least is a, could be.
Yeah, it's close.
If that one-liner works, that's pretty good, actually.
Oh, that's. That's the bit I want. It did way too much. Okay, so we're gonna pull this up. All right, let's get rid of that. Right. That's not. I don't know if that's right, but we'll let me actually look at that.
I know the file name is slightly wrong.
Yeah, sorry. In cloud build, where is what variable is the project ID stored in? I can't remember. Oh, it is literally that. All right, cool. Project ID.
And we have an interesting question in chat here. Somebody's working with 2 projects. One's an API, one's a front end, and they're wondering if they can deploy 2 images with 1 release at each target. So you release a version of the API and the front end, and then you call it one cloud deploy, or rollout.
Ooh, you ask a good question.
I believe you could, because it's no different.
Yeah, you can.
Defining any other 2 artifacts for 1 rollout.
Yes, because if you have a scaffold YAML and you can put all kinds of stuff in here, it's really deploying YAMLs. So you can do whatever you want. So whether it's deployments of a thing, deployments of an image, creating a config map, doing, I don't know, secrets, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, so really, you should be able to do that.
So here we're deploying all of our services through Cloud Deploy using a single scaffold YAML.
Mm-hmm.
Fun. All right, so cloud build. All right, so we copy. That's close. It's close. Yep, just environment dot, and then I'm in Bash, so that's all right. Source. Did I spell that badly? I did. All right. probably also there's a script version for this that's actually quite nice. That we could flip over to, but I'm not gonna worry about it for now. Okay, so the theory being that we're probably not going to get there today, but we grab our environment file, pull it down, we source it so those environment variables are available. And we should be able to use them in here. Interesting, they'll be the same format as that, so that's going to be weird, but that's okay. All right, so I'm going to guess it. All right. With cloud deploy, how do I specify variables to be replaced on release? I think that's vaguely right wording. Substitutions. See, that's wrong. That's wrong. It's like it's pulling information from here, which I get. And that is it's kind of rightish, but also wrongish.
It still seems like it's referring back to cloud build substitutions functionality with your local variables mixed in.
And it's almost like it's trying to say, okay, you have all these substitution variables. You might want to inject those because I know they're substitutions. So I'm gonna look up some more context.
Yeah, I'm wondering if cloud deploy has a different word for it. Like,
let's have a look.
Was it parameters instead of?
Yeah. So let's. This is a long page. All right, so you can pass parameters to your release. That's what we want to do. All you need to do is include placeholders. So you configure deploy parameterization as described here. This includes the following: placeholders, values, 3 ways to do this described here. And then it is rendered. Okay.
Sounds good.
Process, pass values. If you configure the parameter. So you can do this in a few different ways. You can do it in the delivery pipeline definition. Oh. Wait. Have I done this the wrong way?
It seems like we're doing it. Oh, well, we talked about the deploy parameters flag and then didn't use it. You're wondering if we could do it right in pipeline.
I think, yeah. Hold on. So I'm going to ask the question here because we're using Duet, but I actually think I've sent it on the wrong path. Maybe. All right. Oh, this is actually slick. If it's working the way I think it's working, the way they've done it in Cloud Deploy is actually really, really slick. And now I want to go back and fix it, but that's okay. So how do you specify parameters? I'm a little worried about Cloud Deploy. Within a Cloud Deploy pipeline. Oh, here we go. Okay. All right. Specify parameter of the Cloud Deploy pipeline using the scaffold YAML file. That's not right. I know that's not right because that's not what I mean. Or maybe I'm wrong. So this is the scaffold YAML is the local file.
Yeah, it doesn't quite look right.
And you can specify them in the target. They're specified to the target environment, the scaffold YAML file. For example, apply scaffold file specifies the images deployed. All right, I'm going back to the docs. I'm going to go to the docs.
Yeah, no, it seems like the
pipeline. See if I can find it.
Seems like we were looking for like the deploy parameters. Field.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You can add key value pairs to a stage in the delivery pipeline. This is used for parallel deployments. Okay. Add place sources to Kubernetes manifest. All right, it's described here. I'm not going to worry about that right now. So here's an example: replicas from param. Deploy replicas. Interesting. We can dig into that later. But this is okay. So this is how you define your pipelines. We actually do this in Terraform now as well.
Yeah.
And you can add deploy parameters. So rather than putting it in a file, we could make this part like all the spanner config. We're like, oh, this deploy pipeline uses spanner configs. Put it in there when you put in your Terraform stuff, and then we don't need it in a file.
Interesting.
That would be so much better. It's like people who are smart thought about this. Yeah. Funny that. If anyone from the Cloud Deploy team is watching and is like, why didn't you do that in the first place?
Yeah, watch us think around their feature.
Yeah. Duet, give us better advice. No, it's fine.
But hey, now we're very familiar with the use case.
Yeah. So you can do values. You can match on particular target labels. So that I don't have to worry about too much. But then we can do okay. Optional. Yeah. Oh, I love this. This is actually what I want. This is 100% exactly what I want. And actually makes things way easier.
Mm-hmm. And you can just refer to the value directly, so that it solves a lot of problems for us.
That's great. We just did a bunch of work and learned a bunch of things for the wrong reasons, and that's that. You know what? That is life.
Still useful.
What I will actually before I know we're meant to wrap up in 5 minutes. I'm just going to point out the way that we probably should do this.
Which when we do it, will take a lot less time. So good to know.
Where are we? So if we're looking at here we go, pipelines. So we define all our pipelines. Fun enough, it's the spanner pipeline is what we put at the top. There we go. Like services deploy. So this specifies all our pipelines and our target. So this is the global game backend services deploy target, which is the one we were looking at previously. The target is that particular services autopilot cluster. We give it some labels and some other fun stuff. And here's a pipeline that points at that target. Zero's pipeline, boom. And then we have all the other pipelines. So we have that information available to what we put into environment. We could actually just put it in here. This is the way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good to know.
Interesting. All right.
Like really, the only thing we've like there wasn't much wasted work, honestly, aside from as far as like actual code committed. When we take the same values we were putting into the environment file and bring them over here and cut out the upload and like gsutil copy code, and then that's about it. We remove like 9 lines.
Yeah, and then we will have to turn this file into a template. You know what might actually what is scaffold template format? Because that also might be one of the confusing things, is because Cloud Deploy refers to scaffold so much, I wonder if it ends up not wanting to do more scaffoldy things. Built in target environments. In scaffold, how do you replace variables in a YAML file? Maybe that's the better question to ask. Yeah, see, var default. There we go. Now we're starting to get some syntax.
I know. I see how that keyed you off when we were looking at the bash interpolation. Is almost the exact syntax that's used here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It would be hard to distinguish between those two, which might honestly be another reason why they ended up.
Use the var default syntax as default variable. I assume that's actually correct, of course. But what is it? Okay, so let's now. I know we're kind of at time, but now I'm just kind of curious. Add placeholders to your manifest. Syntax for releases aren't using a Helm renderer. Okay, use that property default value.
That makes sense.
So they did this thing. Here we go. It's from param. I wonder if that's interesting. Property default value, then say from param.
It says, a few lines down. It describes the from param functionality.
Yeah. Okay. So cloud deploy. Is that a scaffold?
Question mark?
A thing? Yeah, scaffold support for in raw YAML field. Oh, okay. From no, that doesn't.
Nope, that's not
No.
it.
Okay. Maybe it doesn't know the stuff as well as it would do. All right, I'll stop there. That is interesting though.
Fair enough. It's been a fun session.
But at least we have a path through.
Yeah, and we covered a lot of ground. Took the scenic route. Let's say that.
I love it. But you know what? We found a path through that I think will work well. I think we beat up on Duet a little bit today, but that's okay. Yeah. Try some stuff out.
That's what we're here for, seeing how it works in a live scenario. So yeah, it's been fun. We had some good questions in the chat.
Yes.
Definitely keep those coming.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap up there. Aaron, thank you very much for joining me this week.
No, thanks for leading us on this. And yeah, hopefully we'll have more infrastructure adventures in the near future. Hope you all tune in next week, and we'll see you then.
Fantastic. See you all next week.